A tale of two struggles, the unlikely brothers in arms. So, you think you know about strong friendships? You and your buddy who share pizza? That's cute. But let me tell you about a real one. A bond forged not over Netflix, but over something a little more intense. Dismantling colonial rule systemic racism. I'm talking about India and South Africa. It's a story that starts way back. It's not just about politics and handshakes. It's a story about people. People shipped across an ocean, facing a new and often hostile world. This connection runs deep. It's in the blood and the history of both nations. It's a partnership that began long before the politicians in suits showed up. Imagine this. It's the late 1800s. The British Empire is running the show. They need cheap labor for the sugarcane fields in Natal, South Africa. So they look to another part of their empire, India. They bring over thousands of indentured laborers. These weren't tourists. This was a tough gig. But these people, they didn't just work. They started families. They brought their culture, their food, their faith. And in doing so, they laid the very first bricks of a bridge between two continents. A bridge built on shared hardship, but also on incredible resilience. This wasn't planned. It was just life happening in the most difficult of circumstances. And here's where it gets really interesting. A young, sharply dressed Indian lawyer arrives in South Africa in 1893. His name? Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi. You might have heard of him. He was supposed to be there for a quick legal case. He ended up staying for 21 years. Why? Because he got a front row seat to the ugly reality of racial discrimination. Getting thrown off a train for being in a whites-only carriage has a way of changing your perspective. It was in South Africa that Gandhi honed his ideas of satyagraha, peaceful resistance. He wasn't just fighting for Indians. He was fighting against injustice, period. A fight that would later inspire millions back in India and in South Africa too. So you see, this isn't your average international relationship. It wasn't cooked up in a boardroom. It was born in the streets. It was tested in the fire of protest. The fight against apartheid in South Africa and the fight for independence in India were like two different songs with the same powerful chorus: freedom, dignity, equality. The leaders of South Africa's anti-apartheid movement, people like Nelson Mandela, looked to Gandhi and India's struggle for inspiration. It was a shared story of the underdog standing up to the giant. Please subscribe to our channel. This history is the foundation. It's the concrete slab on which everything else is built. It's what makes the India-South Africa connection more than just a partnership. It's a brotherhood. Let's dive deeper into this history because it's a proper movie script. The Indian community in South Africa wasn't just a footnote. They became a vital part of the country's fabric. We're talking about a community that now numbers over 1,300,000 people. They are doctors, lawyers, shopkeepers, politicians. They've added their own unique flavor to the South African braai, maybe with a side of biryani. This community wasn't passive. When the apartheid government started rolling out its racist laws, they were on the front lines of the resistance. Leaders from the Indian community worked hand in hand with their black African comrades in the African National Congress, the ANC. Think of the Defiance Campaign in the 1950s. This was a huge, coordinated effort of civil disobedience against unjust laws. It was a rainbow coalition of resistance before the term was even cool. Indian and black activists deliberately broke apartheid laws together, filling the jails, showing the world a united front. Yusuf Dadoo, Monty Nycker, Nelson Mandela, Walter Sisulu. They understood that the fight for Indian rights was inseparable from the fight for the rights of all non-white South Africans. Their shared struggle created a trust that politics alone can't buy. It was a bond sealed not with a pen, but with shared sacrifice. India, as a newly independent nation, became one of the loudest voices against apartheid on the world stage. It was personal for them. India was the first country to sever trade relations with the apartheid regime way back in 1946. They consistently raised the issue at the United Nations. For decades, when many Western countries were still doing business with Pretoria, India was leading the charge for sanctions and isolation. It was a principled stand. It sent a clear message: we've been there, we fought that fight, and we stand with you. This wasn't just talk. It was action that backed up the historical connection. When apartheid finally crumbled and Nelson Mandela walked free in 1991, of his first international visits was to India. When he spoke to the Indian Parliament, it was like a family reunion. He was awarded India's highest civilian honor, the Bharat Ratna. Think about that. South Africa's hero being given the highest honor of another nation. This moment cemented the transition from a relationship based on a shared struggle against oppression to one based on a shared vision for the future. The formal diplomatic ties established in 1994 were just the official paperwork for a friendship that was already decades old and battle-tested. Fast forward to today. The struggle has changed, but the teamwork continues. Now, instead of fighting colonialism, India and South Africa are navigating the wild world of global politics. Their favorite hangout spot? A little group called BRICS, visual marketing image. Show leaders of the BRICS nations standing together. Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa. Think of it as the Avengers for developing economies. They said the world order is lopsided. Maybe we should have more of a say. South Africa joined in 2010. India pushed for their inclusion. Why? Because they wanted an African voice in the room. Being in BRICS gives them a much bigger megaphone. Alone, they're important regional players. Together, they can push for changes to global institutions. World Bank, IMF. These institutions feel stuck in 1945. They need a serious update for the modern world. They talk about trade, investment, development. It's a platform where Pretoria and New Delhi coordinate positions. Pretoria, New Delhi, show a united front, moving from fighting for freedom to fighting for a fairer system for everyone. It's also about mutual back-scratching. Friends who have your back. South Africa supports India's bid for a permanent UN Security Council seat. They argue the council shouldn't be a WTO winners club. India's inclusion would make the council more representative and legitimate. Please subscribe to our channel. This support is diplomatic gold. Trust and strategic alignment. Not always perfect harmony. They have disagreements. Different takes on global conflicts. Different trade policies. But they have channels to talk. BRICS, IBSA. India, Brazil, South Africa. They can pick up the phone and have a real conversation. This partnership manages differences and focuses on common ground. It's a mature relationship, beyond black and white, into the messy gray of 21st century geopolitics. Section 4. Beyond Spices and Diamonds. The hustle of a modern partnership. Let's talk money. Because at the end of the day, a strong friendship also needs a healthy bank account. The trade relationship between India and South Africa is booming. It's a proper two-way street. We're talking about bilateral trade hitting around 17 billion. That's a lot of stuff crossing the Indian Ocean. What are they selling each other? India sends a lot of things that keep South Africa running. Cars, petroleum products, pharmaceuticals, machinery. If you're driving an Indian-made car in Johannesburg or taking an Indian-made medicine in Cape Town, you're part of this story. And what does South Africa send back? They're blessed with natural resources from the ground: coal, gold, diamonds, other minerals. But it's not just about raw materials anymore. South African companies are investing in India, insurance, paper production. This isn't just a simple buy and sell relationship. It's a complex web: investment, joint ventures, shared business interests. The economies are becoming more and more intertwined. One real-world example of this hustle is the story of an Indian pharma company. They saw a need in South Africa for affordable, high-quality generic medicines, especially for treating diseases like HIV/AIDS. They set up shop, invested in local manufacturing, and started producing life-saving drugs at a fraction of the cost. This didn't just make them money, it had a massive social impact, helping the South African government tackle a public health crisis. It's a perfect example of the partnership at its best. Indian enterprise meeting a South African need, creating jobs and saving lives. It's business with a conscience. This economic partnership extends to security as well. The Indian Ocean is a busy and sometimes dangerous place. Both countries have massive coastlines and rely on the sea for trade. So, their navies work together. They conduct joint exercises, called IBSAMAR, along with Brazil. They practice everything from anti-piracy drills, disaster relief. They share intelligence to keep the sea lanes safe. This is critically important. A secure maritime environment means trade can flow freely, which is good for everyone's wallet. It's the silent, unseen work that underpins the whole economic relationship. It's about protecting the hustle. Section 5. Two democracies, one future. Navigating challenges and dreaming big. So the story is mostly a happy one. And if you enjoyed this little trip through history and politics, make sure you subscribe for more.